Welcome to the Life Leadership Podcast with myself, Leila Singh, all things coaching, career and personal branding. This podcast is for ambitious career professionals like you, wanting to create a life of choice and freedom, to be, do and have more through overcoming limitations, to develop new perspectives and insights, and to redefine your success, be that in work, health, relationships, and so much more. Hi there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Today, welcome to Live with Leila. My name is Leila Singh and I'm a leadership, career and personal brand coach. And my mission is to impact 100,000 people's career trajectory beyond what they thought possible. Why? Because I am passionate about helping you to realize what is truly possible for you when it comes to your career and to your life. And how do I do this? Through enabling you to harness your leadership potential. I coach high achieving, ambitious and driven mid to senior level professionals, typically working in the technology industry, who are looking for promotion to achieve peak performance and a standout personal brand, all whilst showing up as the best version of themselves. And this is what I call life leadership. And I am going to head straight into today's topic, which is how identity drives motivation and career success. Why am I sharing this with you today? Well, when it comes to achieving your career success, as well as maintaining balance in your life, I want to highlight to you that there is a unique angle. And I say unique because a lot of people aren't aware of this. They haven't considered this before, and it's something that I want to bring to your awareness, and that is focusing on your identity, your state of being, rather than simply just doing and taking action when it comes to achieving more success. So why is it important to identify this and look at your state of being? Because it's easy to get caught up in that ever relentless pursuit of achieving our goals. And there's always pressure on us in the workplace, particularly to perform. And that can be immensely pressurizing on individuals, which means it can impede on our performance. And here's the thing, when it comes to true motivation and sustainability, success isn't only about what comes from the actions that we take. What it does also matter on is having a deeper understanding, shall I say, of who we are being. In other ways, our core identity, our authenticity, our state of being. So what I want to do today is to explore with you the profound impact that actually focusing on cultivating your identity, in other words, your way of being, the way that you show up in the world, and the impact that has on achieving your goals, as well as advancing your career, maintaining and sustaining that level of motivation to help you to get to where you want to be, as well as being able to maintain some life balance. So the first thing I want to address here is the challenges faced by high achievers when it comes to this. And it's often the case that you, as someone who's a high achiever, ambitious in your career, that you're driven by that desire for excellence. And what that means is your ambition propels you forward, which is fantastic, but it can also lead to burnout, to frustration, and a sense of feeling unfulfilled. So the constant focus that we have on doing, in other words, we are looking to meet targets, to drive forward our projects, and to execute strategies. All of these can overshadow the importance of managing your state of being, in other words, your core self, your authentic self. And what does that mean? What it means is it can result in a number of things. So when I talk about burnout, that continuous focus on your performance without adequate slowing down, taking time to reflect and align what you're doing and your goals with your personal values. This can lead to both physical and emotional exhaustion. What else is there? Well, there's a lack of fulfillment. So even when goals are met, you often hear people then saying, well, they still feel that state of emptiness or dissatisfaction and just not being fulfilled, even if you've accomplished what you set out to. And that's often because those goals aren't aligned with your deeper identity. And the third thing here, third challenge that's often faced is imbalance. So when it comes to that pursuit of career success, it's often at the expense of other areas of our life, particularly in our personal life. And this can lead, for example, to a lack of balance when it comes to health and well-being. It can lead to strained relationships and ultimately a lack of life balance. All of these things are not healthy for us in both mentally and physically. So why do these challenges appear? They come from that place of actually what is a common misconception, and that is that success is all about or only about what we do rather than who we are. And despite the importance of slowing down and looking at our core being and who we want to show up as in the world, despite the importance of this, it's very easy to overlook it. And there's a tendency for us career professionals, people who are ambitious, who are driven, to just focus on what's the next action we need to take? What do we have to do next? What's the strategy we want to focus on? And so it's easy to overlook the significance of your identity in both your career and your personal life. And why does this happen? Because there is that pressure to perform. In high-stake environments, there's an immense pressure on us to deliver results. And this can often overshadow the need for self-reflection and the identity work that we're looking at here today. There's also a focus on external metrics. So if you think about the way that success is measured, particularly in the workplace, it's often those external metrics, such as the promotion, the salary increase, some level of recognition, rather than the internal alignment and fulfillment. So how are you measuring your success, your levels of success? Is it all those external metrics, or are you also bringing into play the internal alignment, the internal fulfillment that you're getting to experience, or not? This is really important for you to slow down and really consider. And then there's also the lack of awareness. So something I mentioned earlier, it could simply be that you're unaware of the impact of your identity on your career and on your life. And if it's something you've not heard spoken about before, or you're not really in a personal development space, it's very possible that this is not something you've heard of before or even considered, because the focus and what's talked about more when it comes to success is the doing and achieving those external goals. And there is a level of importance, which is why I'm sharing this today, on the being, in other words, your state of being, over the doing, which will help you and propel you forward towards achieving real, true success. So when we talk about identity, let's call it identity. And what I mean here is who you're being, your state of being, your authenticity, your core behaviors. When we talk about this, why is this crucial when it comes to your career advancement? Because when we think career, we think about technical skills or achieving those targets, getting the promotion, the pay rise, and so forth. It's about leadership and influence, and the ability to inspire others around us. And here's the thing, these qualities are inherently tied to our identity, how we see ourselves and how others perceive us, which is why this is crucial when it comes to advancing your career, particularly if you're somebody who is striving to step into leadership or advance in your leadership role. So when we do slow down and take some time to focus on our identity, there are a number of things that can happen. Number one, we get to enhance our leadership qualities. How? Because leadership isn't just about what we do. And I'm sure you've heard this said before, but it's about who we are. In other words, who we are being. So by cultivating your strong identity, it means you can lead with authenticity. You can inspire trust and you can motivate others. It also means that you get to build a standout personal brand. In other words, a brand that is your reputation. And this is rooted in a strong sense of your identity, which is more compelling and is resonant with others around you. It helps you to stand out, to differentiate you in your, whether it's in your team, your organization, or in the wider industry, as well as opening up more opportunities for career advancement. And the third benefit here is achieving that work-life balance. So I mentioned earlier about understanding your why, what's important for you, and how you're choosing to show up, because all of this will impact how you set your goals, why you're setting those goals, why you're striving to achieve A and B and C. And when you align your career goals with your identity, this is where you get to make the choices that will support both your personal and your professional fulfillment. And that leads to a much healthier work-life balance. So you might be thinking, oh, this sounds great, but how do we actually create that shift from the focus of doing to more of being, to our state of being? So if you come across the book Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about this in detail within the book when he talks about creating those habits. He highlights in his book how goal setting and the actions that are associated with achieving those goals are essential, but they're not the whole picture. In other words, it isn't just about the doing. And he says that to achieve lasting success, it's crucial to create that shift from the focus on doing and in other words, the outcome-based habits, to focusing on being, your state of being. In other words, creating your identity and identity-based habits. Because when we are looking solely on doing, on concentrating purely on that, what happens is we operate at a superficial level. And that's driven by external motivations and expectations rather than those inner ones that drive the personal fulfillment. So by focusing on our state of being, in other words, our identity, our core beliefs, our mindset, we tap into a deeper source of motivation. So what I mean here, to give an example, is if you were striving in let's say, one of your goals to become so much more healthier and fitter, maybe even an athlete, then you want to slow down and think about, who are you being? So when we talk about habits, are the habits that you have, are they those of a professional athlete? In other words, what are your eating habits? What are your exercise and movement habits? What are your sleeping habits? And so forth. And is who you're being and the way that you show up to do those things, are they the habits of somebody who is striving towards being a professional athlete? Now, if you think about that, so if I wanted to improve my health, let's say, and become a lot fitter and healthier and be able to run a marathon, for example, then am I actually being that person who is a professional runner or somebody who can run and complete a marathon without collapsing at the end? So then I need to look at, okay, am I doing the training? So it does come back to doing, but it's the place you're coming from. Am I committing to that? Am I being consistent with that? Am I being healthy? Am I making those decisions? And when you start being that person or becoming that person, you start to make different choices. So maybe when you reach for the chocolate or the cake, or that bag of chips, it's, oh, well, actually, as a professional athlete or that person that I'm striving to become, that's not something I would do. And therefore, it makes those choices or the decisions that you make far easier as you start to live in to the state of being of that person that you want to become. So if we bring that into your career and stepping into leadership, for example, what are the attributes of successful leaders, people who you admire, you look up to, or who are role models for you? Think about who they're being. How do they show up in the world? What are their their values and their attributes, their behaviors that have them stand out as a leader. So those are a couple of examples. And when we think about this, what does shifting from that being, from the doing to the being, what does that enable? So number one, it starts to help you with overcoming any limiting beliefs. What I mean by that is those beliefs that we often hold on to, moreover, subconsciously. So sometimes we're not even aware of the beliefs that we're carrying with us, so that we can focus on the identity that we want to create for ourselves. So let's say that standout leader. And by creating the identity of who we are being, we get to let go of those limiting beliefs. For example, those thoughts and feelings of maybe of not being good enough, of not being ready, of not having had enough experience, of maybe lacking the interpersonal skills, the ability to influence and all that. It's like, okay, I'm going to build and create this identity and I'm going to live into it. And if there are gaps there, I look at how I can close those. If there are skills that are missing to help me to be that or become that person, what can I do there to close those gaps? So we let go of the stories that we're telling ourselves. We let go of the past experiences that we're holding on to that are limiting the actions that we're taking going forward, or limiting our belief in ourselves, such that we're not putting ourselves forward, we're not stepping out, stepping up into those new opportunities. And these are the kind of things that hinder our progress. So when we slow down and start to focus on who we're being and identifying, recognizing those limiting beliefs, the stories, the experiences that are hindering us, that are holding us back in a way that we are making decisions based on that. So we're playing a smaller game. We now are in a position to more easily let go of those. It's also about creating a clearer vision, because when we know who we are being, we can create a future that is aligned with our core self, with our authentic self, which leads you to creating more meaningful goals. In other words, instead of sacrificing our balance of life, of maybe our health, our relationships, and the areas that we're compromising on, when we have a clearer vision of what it is we want our life to look like and our identity of who we are being and the life that we want to live, it makes creating those outcomes that we want for ourselves far more easier. And the decision-making process in that also becomes easier. With this also comes more sustainable success. So the success that is rooted in identity is sustainable. And again, this is what James Clear talks about when he talks in his book Atomic Habits about creating those habits. So if you're someone, again, coming back to the fitness example, who wants to get healthier or lose weight or run a marathon, and you start setting out your goals and your habits to achieve that, if you're not slowing down and looking at who you're being in this, it's very easy to lose motivation within a matter of days, weeks, or months and give up. But when we create that identity of who we want to be and how we want to show up in the world, that creates a more sustainable connection to our motivations to keep going and to stay committed and consistent to what it is we're looking to create. And this is related to both your career and your personal life. So what are some of the things that you can do to develop your identity for career and for life? So first of all, practice self-reflection, something I've mentioned a few times here today. So slow down and regularly take some time to reflect on your values, your beliefs, and your goals, and understand who you are at your core and how this aligns with your career aspirations. In other words, what you're striving to achieve in your career, is this truly what you want, and aligning back to your core being, who you're showing up as in the world? Or is there resistance? If there's resistance, then perhaps it's because something isn't aligned. Secondly, letting go of those limiting beliefs. Again, I mentioned that earlier. So identifying and challenging those beliefs and stories that no longer serve you. Maybe consider working with a coach who can bring in techniques such as neurolinguistic programming and hypnotherapy to help you to overcome some of these barriers. Next is focusing on your why. So instead of focusing solely on what you need to do, reconnect with your underlying motivations. Why is it you want to achieve this? Why is this a big goal for you? Because this will help you to provide a much deeper sense of purpose and enable you to thrive as you work your way towards achieving those goals. Next is cultivating mindfulness. Now, we hear a lot spoken about these days on mindfulness practices. These can really help you to stay grounded in the present moment and reconnect with your identity. So, for example, just slowing down, maybe some meditation, going for a walk in, fresh air, just allowing some peace, some quiet, and see what thoughts are coming up for you. And this can be particularly helpful as well in managing your stress levels, any pressure that you're under, as well as enabling you to maintain a balanced perspective. And then finally, embracing a growth mindset. So for those of you who follow me regularly, you'll know this is something I talk about often. And adopting a growth mindset, this will enable you to view those challenges as opportunities for growth rather than threats or a reason to give up. It also helps you to build your resilience and be more adaptable. So these are some of the key qualities when it comes to your longer term success. And these are some of the strategies to help you to really slow down and think about what it is you really want to create and your state of being and what you can adapt, what shifts you can create for yourself such that it makes it easier for you to achieve those goals and that vision. And ultimately, for many of us, achieving goals and advancing careers is a number one or a top three, let's say, priority. And that sustainable success in achieving that will come from not only what you do and the actions that you take, but also from who we are being. So my invitation to you is to start to shift your focus from what you are doing to who you are being. So coming from a place of, for example, being consistent, being committed to your actions that you're going to take. So that's being committed to take those actions. For example, also, if you're a leader, coming from a place of empathy, so being compassionate, being understanding, all of these things will have you showing up in a way that will help you to create the life that you really want to live. So embracing these strategies, cultivating your identity will help to propel you forward a lot faster when it comes to advancing your career and stepping into leadership. Any questions on this, do please pop them in the links below. I will come back and respond to them. If you'd rather DM me on this, then please do, and I will come back to you as soon as I can. So I hope this has been useful today. Slowing down and remembering it's not all about the doing, it's not all about taking action. Yes, taking action and implementation is important, but slow down for a moment and just consider the place that you're coming from when you're taking that action. Until next time, so same place, same time next week, remember to harness your potential, elevate your performance, and strive towards achieving your personal brand, your reputation by showing up as the best version of you. Have a great rest of the day and week, and I will see you soon. Take care. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already done so. And if you enjoyed and gained value from today's episode, then do please leave a review telling us your key learnings and what you enjoyed the most. And do please share this podcast with your friends and colleagues so we can spread the word on life leadership, creating a life of choice, freedom, and new possibilities. Connect with me directly on LinkedIn, and if you would like to learn more about how we can work together, either DM me on LinkedIn or email me. All details and resources can be found in the show notes.